Hey, welcome to Shop Talk Tuesday, and it's Tuesday, so it's Shop Talk Tuesday time, right? Any case, welcome back to I Know a Guy Bicycles, Hang with the Guy. Hey, I'm Justin, the guy, and hopefully you are ready for Thanksgiving here in the States, or otherwise, other countries have other celebrities, I'm sure. But in any case, well, anyway, Black Friday is coming up, so maybe that's somebody's actual, celebration, family time, and what have you. But in any case, thank you for hanging out with me at Shop Talk Tuesday. And if it's Tuesday in your neck of the woods, it's Shop Talk Tuesday. Hey, yes, I got an interesting topic today. Yes, it's kind of like a David and Goliath kind of jibber jabber, if you'd will, if you like, and it's one of those scenarios where yeah, it's interesting to see reflecting, and Thanksgiving for me is a lot of reflecting, usually in a positive way. And working in several shops in the last 35 years, I've had some experiences, good, bad, and otherwise, from small, bit, and medium, and large shops. And it came to epiphany during this last week when I was doing some research on the latest truck recall on the coaster brakes. I came across a couple of videos, and it kind of yeah, you'll see here in a minute or two what I'm talking about, and what I want to emphasize. And I will be featuring a shop this show, and not notes to them. I have not reached out to them and what have you and told them I'm doing this. I just wanted to really highlight them. Is I did work for them. Sidebar wise, I did Retail Toolkit, which is a software program for them. But you're like, this is a larger shop, and what is this like? Hold on here. The reason why I want to emphasize this particular shop is they started small and they still have that hometown community feel. And when you're looking at the David and Goliath kind of scenario with bike industry, and some of you are part of the cycling industry where you actually either work in shops or you own your own shop, or you have a mobile shop, or you do work for a big bad chain store. Otherwise, it's a huge enchilada of mixes of different flavors and in different communities globally. So, and when I'm talking about the David Goliath portion of this, where a small local shop is outperforming the elite shops in a lot of ways in our current environment. And it might not be just the United States, could be globally. And fortunate for smaller shops, they're very versatile. So if they really able to switch hats and go different directions, which you've seen with other channels talking about their bike shop experiences, like Grava is one out in Pennsylvania. Check them out. They're a small shop, a year and a half into the thick of it, trying to navigate the wild west of the cycling world, and then other parts and aspects of it. But without further ado, let's represent today's sponsor. Bob, the bike rep in the corner here, Bicycle Wheel Warehouse. I got a set of wheels, if you're seeing right above me, that if I have time, I will definitely sniff them out, see what the sniff test is. They're a brand new set from a company out of California that provides rim brake clincher wheels as well as others, tubeless and so forth. So we'll check them out. But here's my little promo thing.
Bicycle Wheel Warehouse in California has an excellent selection of wheels to choose from. They're pre-built, or also you can have them custom built up to various sizes. You can reach out to them directly if you have something unique like the 650 wheel or a different style hub. Therefore, it makes it an excellent bike wheel set company that actually provides good wheel sets without breaking the bank. You will find them being very trusted and true. They really hold up under a lot of different riding conditions and so forth. It takes the standard old school wheel building practices and puts them in a better format. But in any case, this is a wheel set you'll be really love to have. It'll perform for you for a long period of time, and the quality and the attention to detail is superb. You'll find information about this company in the description below, with also my personal coupon code. I hope you find a good wheel set where it works for you. Wheel Warehouse.
Ooh, button click. Okay, I do apologize. I am a bike mechanic trying to do YouTube, so bear with me. Again, this is also live, so I just can't edit all that out. Like last week, my microphone died on me, and I do apologize for that. But in any case, hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you can see me well, and I hope you're having a wonderful day in your neck of the woods. So going into our topic, talking points of elite bike shop versus a local bike shop. Okay, let's identify what I'm saying, what elite bike shop is versus a local bike shop. Local bike shop, a lot of times it's just a mom and pop shop or individual that thought cycling was fun and decided to open a bike shop. And then they started, servicing bikes, selling bikes, maybe small, big, medium type retail space, what have you. And then did the grind of that maybe a year or two, like Grava right now, or they've been into it with 50 years, which is another shop I'll be featuring later on. Well, what's the elite shop? The elite shop is usually a very focused, sometimes just very small niche, either like triathlon, for example. That's all they do is focus on triathlon bikes, or they are really upper end, which could be fine for their market, like GC Performance. That guy's channel, he's in Florida, talks about his experiences. They must do a lot of high end sales within his market, which is great. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that per se, but it's definitely challenging times for now. And it has been leading up to even pre-COVID for these particular shops. They've had some gains, successes with the brands that they carry. The brands are really dictating the price structure and the product mix that are coming out. So can't really blame the bike shop there in the sense of that. So we're not going to talk about overly absorbed prices and that kind of thing. But we do need to address the elephant in the room with all shops right now is basically attitude. What is the overall attitude of your shop? I mean, attitude would be good. It'll give you positive attitude. You've heard that. And then it can be negative attitude. And a lot of shops have had, they're already stacked the cards against them, because if somebody walks into a shop and all they see is really expensive bikes, and they have some individuals that really kind of look the part, it doesn't feel warm and fuzzy and warm hug. And a lot of those people will walk in and walk right out. So therefore, we got really kind of those two perspectives. And then you got on top of that, the corporate stores are owned by Trek, Specialized, Pond Holdings, and them, which they try to cookie cutter the same store, replicate it in a lot of different markets. We'll talk about that a little bit too. But jumping right into the first portion of this is the service model versus the sales model. So there's a couple different perspectives of that. Local shops win on service depth. Local shops are primarily service centered first. So what that means is like they really want to do this. They've been chasing the service dollars, and it's always been there. And if you built your shop up around that prior to even COVID, you were doing pretty well. And then when everything happened, you're pretty protected because you're still getting those service dollars in. Not to say those corporate stores, they do have service flow and so forth, but they also have sometimes higher turnover. And therefore, you may not have that one or two mechanics that individual customer is not really, they don't know what kind of they're going to feel they're going to get each time, which might be fine for what they're doing. But in most cases, somebody gets into cycling and they do some riding and they have just one mediocre experience at one service department at a corporate, mediocre at a family store, they're not going to go back. They're going to look for either doing it themselves, which YouTube, as you're watching me on social media, has a lot of opportunities for people just to work on their own stuff, or they jump into the other, find another shop and so forth, and that kind of thing. And also with those service center style shops, usually have like an old timer like me or various others that, they been around. They've worked on the older stuff. You bring in a Trek 5200 and they know how to work and know the nuances of the wheels may have had issues and so forth. So you got that layer of depth. When you're looking at, the leader shops, they sometimes don't have that depth. They're more focused on the new or newer 10 years back product mix. So there is a place for that, yes, but for more general communities, that's less than more per se. So any case, if you had any experiences within those like service department areas, realms, plus positive or negative, please put it in the chat. This is the community. This is a safe space for us bike mechanics, customers, riders, community riders to just hang out and get along and air your grievances, or positive notes, even better. It's, that's what back to attitude. You walk in, they take care of you. I saw one video recently that featured active Matty. He's a former baseball player that's got into biking when he has his channel. I think he has 50,000 subs, what have you. And he interviewed a bike mechanic shop in Boulder, Colorado. The name of the shop eludes me, but it's an individual that had his own garage shop, just like this cat, as you see, but decided to move out into a retail location, which basically he rented a portion of a bike shop in a sense, and he's part of their service center, which was kind of interesting mix in, Boulder or anywhere. And his business is still defined as his, but it's business within a business, right? Layers. But he takes care of customers right off the bat. Like you walk in, he will tune up and drop everything, tune up the bike as you stand there. The philosophy is for him is he doesn't want to hide behind a wall. He doesn't want to hide the repair behind time. He wants to expose the customer to the experience of working on the bike as in real time, working on it as they stand there and wait, seeing him do the repair or tune up and so forth. Granted, this is definitely not all shops model. A lot of small repairs and so forth will be done on fly in most shops. This is a little more elevated because he'll do the actual full tune-up, which is insane. But there is also a thing too where in the Boulder, there's probably a lot more individuals that are student-based, as you probably would figure. And they, they have time. Or that's their main mode of transportation. It's like, I'm not going anywhere until I get my bike back underneath me because I'm not going anywhere. So standing there waiting for a tune-up is probably a great fit for that particular area. And it's, it's kind of cool. Most people though, and especially my client base, are like, here, have the bike, do your magic, what have you, and I'll see you in a week or two or whatever, the time range that works for them. They're not in a super rush. And for me to show that experience, listen to this, show the experience of that repair, I make a video of it as I'm working on it and I post it on YouTube. And then they can go back and go, oh, wow, this is all the stuff you did to my bike, which is a win-win. So that's kind of how I do it in a sense without having the customer stand here and, have a conversation, which is fine. But for my business model, that's not that direction. For his, it is. It's great. So, any case. So, talk about the service part of it. And as a big, huge piece of that. And, we have a special guest that just jumped on. And I will introduce him. Mr. John Bradley. Mr. John Bradley has been in this cycling industry for 50 plus years. And we were kind of having a little conversation before all you guys, before I started this as a mad scramble, trying to get everything together. And I was telling him to talk about the aspects of it. I didn't shoot him any bullet points, so he's flying blind here. That's what we're talking about, partially, just the main topic. But John, well, first, welcome to Shop Talk Tuesday.
Thanks, Justin. Good to be back.
Awesome. Yeah, John is up in Minneapolis, right?
Yep.
And it's cold and gray there, so let's give him a little bit of ray of sunshine to make him feel a little better about life.
That'd be good. I mean, it looks, it's basically cold and gray, but snow coming this evening. So.
Boo. Yeah, we have some colder weather. I'm just getting over a cold. He was like checking up on me, make sure I'm still alive this morning, and just got over the cold. But I missed my 60-degree day weather yesterday. I was just not quite ready to get on the bike, which I probably should have, but
Yep.
I may have been in worst case today, needed the rest. But I was like, oh, man, there's nothing worse, either being sick or extremely hungover, and you're just missing a beautiful day of riding.
Well, or then you miss it and then you really regret it, like an hour or two later or something like, dag nabbit, it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. I've been coming here for 30 years as a result of my marriage, on and off. And this is my first really sustained winter. And we've had this absolutely glorious fall here. It's just beautiful, all the great Midwestern colors, reds and yellows and whatnot. And you can just tell people were like out walking and enjoying and riding with a sense of urgency because they know days like this were coming.
Yeah.
There's this funny weatherman, and he's basically saying, "Oh yeah, that's it. It's over." So,
well, do they have like the long gray winter there?
Yeah. It's
like, take the sword out of my back.
Yeah, I mean, you lived a lot of that, and I mean, it was funny because the time I was living in Wisconsin when I was working for Trek, I would spend most of my winters in Taiwan, and I used to joke with I winter in Taichung, so I didn't. It was funny because I missed all the big whopper snowstorms over my 9 years living in Madison. It seemed like I was always in Taiwan or Japan at the time.
Oh, yeah, somewhere a little more climate friendly.
Yeah. So this is it's different. I mean, the cold, as I've aged, also the cold kind of gets into you a little bit faster. But it's a great town. There's a lot to do here. Great cycling culture. A lot of good shops. And I'm incredibly lucky. I can hop on a bike and be tooling around one of the beautiful lakes here in minutes. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. Well, yeah. And bring up to speed, we're talking about the David Goliath of bike shops. And before this, he went on a whole pitch about Wheat Ridge and Turin and all the local shops in the Denver metro area that he had experiences with. But the first part of it, how I just finished up the piece on the service side of it, about ready to dive into the inventory and marketing resilience of bike shops, where what I mean by that is, like, as you know, with the bigger shops that you worked with over the years, they have their numbers, they pre-book a certain volume of bikes, and in bringing that inventory, and sometimes they're held by commitments or contracts with these vendors and so forth. Smaller bike shops have smaller volume of bikes and parts and repair parts and all that. And when, smaller shops have the ability to kind of change on the fly, and leading up to COVID, a lot of bike shops smaller shops especially, were leveraging QBP, JBI, and even Trek to warehouse the inventory and then only buy when they need it, kind of philosophy. So instead of carrying, for example, 400 road bike tubes to cover their season, they'd only carry 20, knowing that Trek will have that in stock and reorder when as needed. So that kind of insulated the small bike shops to be a little more cash flow protected. But through the whole COVID whiplash, where a lot of these vendors are trying to push as much inventory in the shops again, the bigger shops are probably taking that inventory, but the problem is they're not selling a lot of it. So what do you think on that perspective, how a big shop, elite shop, is handling their more expensive, higher volume inventory versus the smaller shop that's a little more fluid?
I think there's probably a common thing. I mean, one of the systemic problems of the bicycle industry at retail has been, you have to overload. You have to buy more stuff than you need, over time. And, you got to do your preseason order, all that type of thing, or else you won't get, bikes and whatever. And I think that has been common for both small and large stores, just in terms of how much scale. I think we're trying to get away from that. In the end, it's really not that good for people to overload, buy more bikes and parts and whatever than they need. I mean, COVID was crazy. COVID was weird, this weird boom I've been through. You and I have talked about the number of booms we've both been through. And the COVID thing was like, you better buy bikes now because there ain't going to be any more bikes, and we don't know when there's going to be more bikes or parts or whatever. So that really jacked things up. So, any good business has to, keep an eye on the inventory, make sure they're getting a lot of turn with their inventory. With turn being that you don't want to have stuff sitting on your floor. One of my good friends when I was the Trek rep was Gene Kiefel, and he would say, "Oh, those smelly fish, after 3 days, it's time to get rid of them." And it was kind of funny because he would always, he specialized in buying closeouts, so he was able to basically buy low, sell high, and he was probably one of the sharper business people. Him, Alan Fine, who had Turin, really good, sharp people, bought really well, were careful about putting themselves in a precarious position, which is tough because, your friend, the rep comes in and says, "Hey, Justin, will you help me out here? I just need to make my numbers," or whatever they use to get you to buy more. So it's challenging. Inventory has always been an issue, and, we don't have very good numbers in terms of what's out there at stock. We're kind of archaic in a lot of ways in terms of inventory control. So.
Yeah, then you have seasonality and demands and markets and everything we've been going through. And then you have, and it's a global thing. I mean, it's like, okay, what are we going to do with this inventory that we ordered got designed and ordered up 9 months ago? And well, we don't want to, a lot of it's being diverted to different areas and so forth, instead of the States. But yeah, and it shops here, for my functionality of my business, I haven't had any issues getting stuff. I've been able to get the replacement parts, the cables and housing, consumables for a bike pretty easily. But some of the parts definitely have gone up in price. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, when any kind of price hikes of this nature or any nature, and historically, they say prices go down, but that's usually just eggs and milk. And once a lot of those inventory on a lot of that, like tires and tubes, go up, sometimes they don't like to bring those prices back down. They kind of set the new bar of what the price point is going forward.
It rarely comes back to, the only thing once in a while that comes back to a price that it might have been at one point is gasoline, stuff like that. But at retail, we're paying more for everything, whether it's groceries or bicycles or whatever. Mm-hmm. It never comes all the way down. Yeah. And like if you had an employee, you'd be paying, probably more for that employee other than, yourself. So your costs or the costs, anybody who has employees, everybody's costs have gone up. And so you've got to charge more, you've got to make more money to sustain your business. So.
Yeah. So that relates to how much inventory, what little inventory, running capital, try to take advantage of the smelly, stinky fish when they do come around. Because, the wholesalers, they have the same issue. Instead of having public as a customer, now they have public as a customer because most of them go direct to consumer, but they still have a warehouse of inventory designated to be sold through the IBD.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's not being sold through, they're in the same problem. Like, we got to cut staff, we got to figure out some marketing, we got to cut prices. There's still deals to be had out there for inventory wise, but it'll be interesting to see what happens within the next year, where a lot of bike shops, you know, they still obviously have to maintain their inventory, either bikes or parts or accessories or whatever, either do the service departments and what have their model is. Inventory is a big equation of it. But the service centers, they are all leveraging that as much as they can, because that's the only thing that's really consistent right now as for money coming in from especially this season. And I've seen already the Trek stores, the local shops here are already discounting their winter off-season tune-ups, like 25 to 50 bucks off, because and that usually doesn't happen until after Christmas, just to let you know. It's a little early, I think. I mean, our market here, or my market in Colorado, you usually try to get through Christmas first before you start dropping your pants on price.
Yeah, I think part of that, you know, we're this funny little business, but we do get affected by the general vibe at retail. And right now it's Black Friday. And, you know, I think a lot of businesses are looking like, well, we want to get some of those dollars. I've got to pay my employees, my heat and light bill. I've got to get some money coming through the door, and you feel like I've got to compete. The reality of it is very few of the customers in our business actually need their bicycle. It feels like you do, but you know, you actually need that bike, you know, to get to work or whatever. So it becomes a discretionary, you know, you spend money on it by choice, not by need. So we are, in effect, I mean, the story in Colorado is always, we're always competing with the ski business this time of year, because all of a sudden, you know, people start thinking about skiing, and those dollars in the bike shop start, you know, those sporting goods dollars start to go elsewhere and not to the bike shop. So,
well, yeah, big time. I mean, we had a small shop, you know, the Parker Bikes Days in Parker, Colorado, and we had several seasons in the early 90s where it would snow in September and everybody put their bikes away. I mean, It's like, we're done. We're pulling the skis out. It's like the valve was shut off and done. And a few years of that, we're like, we got to do something. I even had to go get another job in the wintertime. I mean, basically that's how sparse it got. Then we got into ski and snowboard rentals. So we're like, oh, okay, whatever. We'll just change gears. And then our slowest month was typically October, because the ski resorts have not opened up yet. Although it may have snowed in September.
Right.
But we were gearing up. And then we would have rentals through schools, and I just kept the lights on, labor, tuning skis and all that, which worked out great. But the pinch on that for us, if we had an early spring, when people started bringing their bikes in March or April, our ski season hasn't ended yet. And we were just crushed for both ends for about a month and a half until we could shut it down. So yeah, that was part of our adjustments back in the 90s. And a lot of shops kind of do that. Then I was mentioning about that mechanic that owns a little repair shop inside of a bike shop in Boulder. He does mention that in the off season, he does drive for Uber and another job. So it still happens today. But yeah, the seasonality of it can really, really crush you for sure. The next part of the 4-part topics before I featured the shop was between more of the elite shop experience versus the local shop experiences, customer experience and community roles. Basically what that is your customer experience starts at the front door when you walk in. And working in big box retail, that was a lot of emphasis. You got like 3 to 5 seconds to capture that customer intrigued to stay in your store. So let's just pretend it's a brand new customer coming in and you're a retail location and they walk in your door. What are the first things they're seeing? Like, in some shops I've walked in, some of the corporate ones, the first thing I see is one has clearance in their entryway as you're walking in, just trying to get rid of stuff, which is kind of intriguing. But when you get into about 10 feet into the store, majority of the bikes you're seeing is $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 bikes. So
a lot of people are going to
yeah, my wife included, walk in, walk right out. I mean, it's like, oh, and it doesn't matter. They don't even have contact with a person. I mean, your front of your store, your first 10 feet of your store is representing your vibe of the location. And that includes your website, your YouTube channel, your social medias, all that is also included. So that first impression, even if a current customer it's been there, still, it's like one of those things you got to constantly refresh. But which I've seen successes more with the mom and pop shops. You have something more fun. Like my dad, he bought one of those 3-wheel bikes, but the front part was a big basket for cargoing.
I remember that. Yeah,
it was before cargo bikes. Like,
yeah,
like this big clunking thing. It took up a lot of floor space, but we would put fun things in the basket and sometimes mannequin, whatever. We'd change it out. When you walk in, you're like, you put a smile on your face, like you're like an inside joke, kind of cracking up. And of course, we had the shop dog Astro, so that gave you that more warm. This is my place. This is my people. I don't feel like I'm going to be, ripped off here. Basically, I feel comfortable bringing my bike here to be worked on or buying a bike or looking for a kid's bike and that kind of thing. So going back to the experiences of the 90s and what they are facing today, I've seen a lot of shops that are more service oriented and smaller have that warm hug feel right out of the gate. Like it's pretty impactful for a lot of customers.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen, you've seen it in a lot of shops, and it really affects their community. And granted, there's some shops that do fine with that. Like they have a lot of racers or elite riders, and they want that Porsche showroom feel right off the bat because it checks one of their boxes in their head of what kind of bike they ride. But I would say more often than not, a majority of the cycling community is more community based. And that'll allude to our conversation a little bit later about small shops becoming big. Are they still a small shop inside? I mean, what's your thoughts about like the current state of the state and the shops have you been in recently, or from the elitist to more in the mom and pop?
Well, there was a neighborhood shop that I liked quite a bit on the other side of the lake. Just a really kind of a neat place. Just had a pretty cool vibe in there. They had a 90s era Eddie Merckx frame hanging at one point. A couple of really good, funny, friendly guys running the store who were really good. And it just felt like a good place to go in. I stumbled in there with my dog Rocky one morning. I said, "Hey, there's a bike shop, and my hands are numb. Let's go inside and warm up." And I've been friends with those guys ever since. And they were definitely it was this nice, friendly place to hang out. It's funny because one of the stories, have we ever talked about my friend Alexis, the guy who came in with his old Motobecane to the Spoke?
I don't know. I don't think so.
So this kind of goes to that because the old Denver Spoke was quite the place. I mean, you'd come in there and we had 40 or 50 pro frames hanging ready to be, you'd come in and I'd say, "Hey, Justin, what are you looking for?" We'd have all the different gruppos we could build, build wheels, all this kind of stuff. We actually had Alexi Graywall's Olympic gold medal winning Pinarello hanging over the front register. So I think there'd be a lot of people who basically maybe were kind of repelled, like this does not feel like a family place. But this guy came in, we were close to Denver University, and he was a graduate student at DU. He was from Greece, had studied at the Sorbonne. I probably mispronounced that, in Paris. While he was there, he bought this Motobecane, and this Motobecane, as a bike shop guy, you'll know what I'm saying. It was like one of those bikes that's just going to get here. It had like, simplex derailleurs and Mayfac brakes and, kind of neat stuff now. But, it was one of these bikes that it's not going to get very much better regardless of what you do to it. And he kept bringing it in. We started having this conversation, and at one point he goes, "You Americans, you're so materialistic. What do you need a racing bicycle for? You just need a bike to get from A to B," kind of like maybe a European vibe of a utilitarian bicycle. And he started doing that. We'd have different versions of that each time he came in, and he's coming in fairly frequently. And so he comes in one point and he starts to wind up, and I said, "Alexis, put a sock in it." I had seen him eyeballing this absolutely gorgeous Spanish blue Dosa, full campy super record. I knew he was coming back, and we set it up. It's like I put our best wheels on. I had the silk tires, the whole thing. I said, "You know what? Go ride this bike. We'll have the Motobecane ready when you come back. I don't care, half hour, 2 hours. Just we'll talk." So he goes off. We fix the Motobecane, and it was well over an hour. And he comes back, and he had this huge, eating grin on his face. I said, "Alexis, what do you think?" He goes, "I don't know why people use drugs." And he bought that bike that afternoon, which was probably close to $2,000 in the mid '80s. So that was a big deal back then. But that's kind of one of those where if you are open enough as an employee and develop the relationships with your customers, you can sometimes bring them along and ride what you ride, sort of thing. So
yeah, well, that's really cool because that's really, because he had a stigma of, this is, why do I want to put this money, or why do I want to ride this, or different materials?
It was that whole, you Americans, just that. That sort of peeved me off, to put it politely. I was not thrilled at that, but we had developed a pretty good friendship by that point. But
I mean, obviously you would not do that to like a brand new customer that came in the door, but I'm pretty sure Dong would, that spoke. But he's definitely a different breed of salesperson.
Well, the funny thing with him is that so I was managing the store, and Dong, interesting character. So he was Vietnamese. He had been a refugee. He was a helicopter gunship pilot for the ARVN, the Army of the Republic of Vietnam, and had actually he was actually one of those guys that flew the helicopter onto the deck of the carrier, and then they pushed the helicopter into the South China Sea. Interesting guy. He learned English in Louisiana, so he spoke with a Vietnamese Louisiana accent, and he realized he had some communication things, but he would try and get somebody laughing, as they came in the door. And, some of the other employees were complaining, like, Dong's not doing a good job. Like, people aren't really understanding what they're buying. And I said, well, okay, I hear what you're saying. I'm going to watch Dong. I'm going to watch you. It was a busy weekend day, a Saturday. And Dong sold like 5 or 6 bikes that day. And one of the things I noticed is people met him, and immediately he's got them smiling. So they're already having fun, which is what your bike shop should be. It should be a fun place to be, in my mind. And it literally was like 6 bikes to 2 or something. And the dollar amount, they were nice bikes, and I said, you ought to go watch Dong because he's having fun with people. And again, very few people actually need a bicycle. So you want to make sure that they're having fun talking to you. Is it an engaging, fun place to be? Are the bikes cool? Do you just have fun with them? And then that's why they're there. And that's my humble opinion there. So.
Oh yeah. His selling approach was, he was politically incorrect.
Oh my God.
Right up. I mean, he was one of those individuals who would say all the wrong things,
Yeah.
but for somehow how he presented it, or I don't know, whatever it was, he was able to get away with it without totally insulting everybody. And it'd be so crass, but yet, like you were saying, that's a great point. Of like, he got the people smiling. He cracked the nut. Like, he's like, "Hey, come on in. Let's have a good time. Let's talk about bikes and have a good time." And talking about them and all like these side jokes and so forth. I mean, I don't think he ever was serious ever about anything really. But
he did know his stuff. I mean, he did know his stuff. I mean, he really liked people, and unfortunately, Dong's gone now. But he really liked people, but kind of one of those slightly kind of off color things, but. Like some guy would be talking, he'd be looking at some, Dosa or Pinarello, and he's, oh, I don't know, I better go talk to the wife. And Don would go, hey, bud, who wear the pants in your family? I don't know how many times he closed with that line. It was hilarious. I mean, there are some other ones I probably told you, and we'll probably not share.
Yeah, you're kind of breaking up there.
Your shop. Yeah, your shop should be a place. Bikes should be fun. They should be looking good, clean. Not a lot of grumpy people. So
exactly.
Don't talk down to your customers, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you could have a lot of nice stuff on your floor, but yeah, if you have fun vibe coming in, which it should be. I mean, cycling is fun. It's you want to share it, not sterile and scary.
Right.
Right. Yeah, and the last part of the big four was overhead and financial stability. Basically, overhead is your rent or your mortgage on the property. Overhead is your labor for employees. Lights, insurance, taxes, your accountant, your YouTube influencer,
advertising,
all that. And when you're looking at, I mean, granted, some of these bigger shops that have like departments. The first one was exposed to me back in the 90s was Bicycle Village. I mean, listening to Chris, our truck rep, talking about his experience of walking in. He didn't go into the actual store. He'd go into their conference room and talk to each one of their buyers for each particular part, like clothing buyer, parts buyer, bikes buyer, road bikes buyer. And, he didn't like it because he'd get grilled. It's like best price, best volume, and never dating.
Right.
So if shops like that, it's pretty huge. And when you're looking at like for me, the extreme, I don't know how opposite I can be from that, being in my own garage, in my house, right, of a business, and my overhead is, shared with our living expenses, with electricity and everything else. I mean, granted, there is expenses. I was looking at today. It's like for what was it? For like my paying for like on this platform, my subscription basis to do what I do for promoting and so forth. The yard stream is a monthly cost and everything else, which is that it comes to about $2,000 a year. And I mean, but I don't have a lot of those other costs, and that's a fixed cost, and I can adjust that if I need to bring that down. Where smaller shops, they have that ability to hopefully keep it small. And I talked one shop out of expanding. Like, you thought of like, oh, we had a great year in service and doing this and that and other. And it's very new to the industry. And I'm like, hey, you want to hold in your pants. Don't sign on that contract and double your floor space, because it's a lot of work to add a location or expand your location. And you want to have 3 to 5 years of lease underneath your belt before you take that leap and just improve upon what you have. It'll be better off because of X, Y, and Z. And then I have another shop, which is close to me, Precision E-Bike. And his spot is really small. Actually, I think it's smaller than my garage.
Wow.
And he is looking to expand, but he wants to bring on rental e-bikes and some other pieces to fill that space. But it's really a cautionary tale of watch out for your overhead in our times that we're in. With your experiences of working with shops over the decades, when do you think would be a good time to take that leap of expanding or retracting?
I think, you really got to know what you're about. Like most bike shops have a space problem. It's like, oh gosh, if only we had, a little bit more space, I could do a better display, or I could bring in another line of bikes or something. I could build a dressing room. But you've got to be careful, because if you do get that space, then you've got to have more product to fill it up. There's all those, which sounds real simple, but a lot of people expand and then don't realize. And the last thing you want is somebody come in and it looks kind of cavernous and scary. There's not a lot going on in here. There's not many. Doesn't this guy have enough money for inventory? All that. You don't want to expose that way. So you really need to totally map that out. It's like, is this, this is going to make X amount of dollars. It's worth the investment. You really got to be really careful if you're moving, because you might lose customers. Your access might be impacted, and that can be in a good or a bad way. You just want to be sure you're not in a lot of debt, and you can handle the additional cost, and hopefully turn more bikes and product as a result. But yeah, particularly now, it's like careful. Just, you don't want to overextend yourself. So.
Well, I really look at it at this point that with inventory goes and the cost of it and the actual demand of it, that new inventory is dropping, and it's going to stay low for a while. You don't want to try to fill a space where if you did expand, you're going to look like you're going out of business because you can't get enough inventory for it.
Right.
And well, a quick fix on that though is buy a whole bunch of used bikes, fix them up, put them on the floor, fill the space. Right. That might be the direction you go. But yeah, it's that when you mention that, it does remind me of a time when in Parker Bikes Day in the 90s, we had the legendary owner of Trek, John Burke, visit our store. And my parents were nervous, of course, because, this is the head guy and is going to come into your store and check everything out. So we cleaned everything top to bottom and everything and went through the whole store. And he walks in and, he's polite. And basically, that was my first experience of a store walkthrough. Working at Big Fat Sporting Goods, I got used to it with your regional supervisors would go in and just, they feel like there's, sometimes it feel like they're just destroying you, or building you up. Either way, it can go either direction sometimes. It depends their mood. But he came in, this is the first experience I had of this. And, he talked to my dad and, I was kind of in the back. I was not really up front, introduced, and I disappeared. But he walked our store. And one thing the conversation you were talking about, and he looked at this, those little quarter candy display things at the front door, and it was for a charity. And, it's like my dad's mom's friend of a friend or somebody would come in and refill the M&Ms and all that, and this little candy machine kind of thing. And he looked right at that and was like, you got to get rid of that. Like, dead cold stone serious. And my dad's like, what do you mean? It's like, got to get rid of that. That doesn't need to be here. It's like, why? It's like, that is your real estate. You are giving them real estate. That needs to be your real estate.
Right.
And actually that pissed Tom off. I mean, He was mad.
Yeah.
Because he didn't really understand the concept, and how it was pitched to him was very crass. But there was a really valid point, though. And we did end up moving. It was sad. The old lady was really sad, taking her machine away, but it was really valid. And every square inch, even including my shop, is being utilized. I mean, if the corner gets dirty, it gets cleaned up and gets redone to do something that's more functional. As I'm sitting in the corner right now, which was a pile of stuff, and I'm like, I need to do something with that. And I cleared it all out and made it a little YouTube drop, a backdrop. This is a lot more effective for me for what I do. And I also put stuff over here. It's like an extra bench extension. And also I hang stuff behind me. This is also storage. So it's a very multiple usage spot almost daily. So when you're looking at a shop, and I think you can, like, even your small shop and you feel you're overcluttered, if you're just a little more smart about your square footage, square inch, and make it versatile, I think you could sustain a little bit longer in that space to where it makes more sense at a later date to expand, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just one of those things, like, yeah, keep it small. And, when do you think, like, you're saying like the dollar amounts, and I would almost think it'd have to be like you're doing double the business of sustaining your own location to expand a third of your space to be safely expanding. And you think there's an equation for that?
I'm sure there is. And I'm trying to think if I recall something, but it does make sense. You want to go, I can sustain this, you want to be on a path that is clearly profitable, and you don't want to go into debt to. That's actually a good point right there. Is you don't want to really go into debt to expand if you can't sustain that. If there's not a clear path to pay off whatever, higher rent or whatever, that's gotten a lot of people. It's been the death knell for a number of stores, where they just couldn't expand or couldn't sustain it. So. Yeah.
I mean, we were affected by that too. I mean, we expanded and we were out of business in 9 months.
Yeah.
It's just a combination of other things, of course, but it can kill your business so quick, and your head spinning like, what the hell happened?
Right.
But it is what it is. But on the flip side, on more of a positive note, is we want to be more positive because, it's Thanksgiving week, and, we want to be more thankful. You were talking about Wheat Ridge specifically, but maybe some other shops you can chime in. They came in as a very small shop, and their growth is astronomical. I mean, they've been in business for a long time, but I mean, yeah, share what you shared with me earlier about where they started and where they
come. The Kegels came over. They were, basically war refugees to some extent. They left Europe to come to the United States for a better life. And Eugene, I think, had been apprenticed, he actually might have been apprenticed as a bike mechanic, but he was a bearing salesman. He'd go into various businesses and sell various bearings for, whatever production they were doing. But he saw this bike shop in their neighborhood, and I think he saw it as a potential good opportunity, for him and the family. And but he knew he was a penny pincher in the best possible way. I mean, he was he was pretty tight, but he knew his business, and he also had very strong ideas. The store was always clean. There was never clutter. He occasionally would take some of this to a fault because he was just so laser focused on his goals. But and the store kind of gradually, it was funny because it was at this corner on 38th and Wadsworth, and I want to say it was around 1,000 square feet, and eventually the space next door opened up and they expanded it, and it grew and grew and grew. But they were at a really good time, and they definitely rode the mountain bike boom wave. That was a big part of their success. Incredibly well run business. Very well organized people. I think, and very much a member of the community as well. I mean, they were always going to the same church. They raised a bunch of kids, all that kind of stuff. They would support a lot of community goings on there. They had good lines. I mean, they were a Trek and Specialized dealer. When I was working with them, which were probably the two best lines you could have at that point in time. I think what else to say about it. It was amazing watching them grow. I mean, it just grew and grew, and now it's I don't know how many thousand square feet it is. It's a huge store in the West Denver area, but just a great success. But a lot of some of these bigger stores now, these corporate stores or whatever, elite stores, whatever you're calling them, actually started like Wheat Ridge did. And Wheat Ridge could have sold, I think at one point I think Trek did want to buy the business, and I think they said no, which was pretty rare, because I think a lot of the stores that Trek bought, a lot of the people who owned it, it was like maybe a husband and wife or whatever, and they got to a point and didn't have kids to take it over and sure will sell. But Wheat Ridge kept going. It kind of went through various family members ran it for a while.
Yeah.
But Turin was another really well-run place, but very conscious of profitability, and not in a bad way, but just they would have a line. It's like, no, we're not going to do that. That's not good for the business. They had a very clear idea of what they were doing. Yeah. It's kind of, I think one of the challenges, it's really fun to get kind of wrapped up in some of the really fun aspects of the business, and sometimes it may not help your profitability. You
got to have a healthy balance for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, Wheat Ridge, incredibly well run. Turin, very well run. Very, very different stores, kind of different vibes between the two.
Completely different vibes, and they're different. Yeah, like Turin was kind of like your downtown Denver, big city type store, and your Wheat Ridge is more of your suburban, family oriented. And unfortunately, Turin, they were sold, and then the person that bought them just crashed the store, or they just something happened with their rent. But with Wheat Ridge, with my experience in the 90s, going to trade bikes with them, I mean, at some point they grew, and then they start buying. Now is the big key of probably a lot of their success, is they start owning the property that they're running their business out of. And I'd go pick up a kid's bike or something on my dad, and it was a good hour and a half drive from Parker to there, so it wasn't an easy thing to get to. So we didn't trade a lot, but I got there, and guy's like, "Oh yeah, you're here to pick up the bike," and he looks in his sheet of paper, right? He goes, "Oh, that's in building 4 somewhere," and he drags me out in the back alley. And I'm like, "Oh shit, he's gonna roll me in the back? What's going on here?"
Right.
We walked like four houses down.
Yeah.
While they bought the houses behind the building.
Yeah.
Gutted them, and that was their storage.
Right. Some weren't even that gutted. It's like, this used to be the kitchen or something.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like stacked to the wall and ceiling. Wow. It just is so jaw-dropping of how much inventory that they had.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, now they probably took that whole city block and reframed it to be their store and but that's like one of those huge expansions. And still today, a lot of people have, even though the company's been sold to another, I don't know what company has been sold to, but I believe they still maintain that vibe of good experience, warm hug when you walk into the store. They've not really tempered with that. And the other part of that one was really interesting was we took I was working at Lee's and we're like, oh, we're going to go down to Wheat Ridge and check out the service department. And it was like the owner of Lee's way of saying, do better. Let's show you how it's done. Opportunity. So we go down there and they had a completely separate building. And it was about as big as most bike shops, and if not bigger. And they had like areas for every part. Like, this is the suspension corner. This is the wheel building corner. This is like your 10 bays and of service. And it was just, wow. Like the mass amount of volume they were doing back then. That was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And now I think it's all more in-house. They can incorporate it on the new building they have now, but they were definitely the ones that if you were a small mom and pop shop, they'll look up to in our area to like, we want to at least try to be a little bit like that.
Right.
I mean, they were setting the bar and they were very approachable, which was really nice. It's not like they're like, we're not going to, they didn't keep their secrets like too close to them. They're like, oh, well, we'll help you out or, tell you what you need to do. And kind of, they helped my dad out quite a bit of some philosophies and business development and that. It was great. It was definitely a communal feel where I think a lot of shops lost that for a little while. And I think we're back there again because right now it's kind of like, we're all trying to survive.
Yeah.
Some are doing a little better than others. And some are doing better in the ways that like the other shops like, oh, we need to learn from the little guys like me, how to kind of streamline and take our successes and implement it in our bigger shops.
That one thing you kind of reminded me of, and I think it is good to go visit other bike shops, just to kind of look and see what they're doing. Is like, and you might see something like, wow, I'll never do that, or I used to do that and I won't ever do that again, or that's a great idea. And you might find people like the people at Wheat Ridge who are, sure, let me tell you how we did it, and here's what makes sense. I think that's a really good thing in the business, is just to, plus sometimes you just want to know who's your competition, and are they doing a better job of some aspect, their service is better, or their displays are better, something like that. Yeah. That's just a really good thing to do, to kind of look around. What are your customers looking at? So
exactly, and you want to identify their niche,
right?
And you want to identify your niche, and like, there's so many different aspects of cycling now that you don't have to be into all everything like we used to be back in the day. It's you're more like, I use the example of Parker Bikes and Destination Cyclery. I mean, we were both pretty much kind of the same type of shop. If we would have both went a little different direction, we would have probably been not fighting over the same customer, one, and also supporting the cycling community a little bit better. So, looking about at that, you go to your competition. I mean, quite honestly, if somebody moved across the street and opened up a mountain bike version of me, we'd be fine.
Right.
We'd be super happy. Or e-bike version of me, like, I'm
right.
fine. I mean, it's like what I do, what you do, and we'll help each other out. Our customers will cross over. It'd be great.
Yeah.
So there's that. And also, I've really implored a lot of shops to go into other sporting goods, more like chain stores, like Big Five or Houston Sports Authority, but like Dick's Sporting Goods,
right.
And so forth, because they spend millions of dollars of research of product placement and all of that. So if you get a couple of good little ideas of how they displayed something or whatever and implement it in your own store, that's like super easy way for you to get it cheap, what they spent millions on to do,
right?
To kind of spruce it up without being intimidating, kind of thing.
Yeah, or it might be like you might look at something and go, "Whoa, that doesn't work at all." It's funny. You mentioned when you come into a store. I remember there's an old rule of retail is the right hand rule. Are you familiar with that?
I'm sorry, what was that?
The right hand rule. Right hand.
Oh no.
So that is almost everybody, if you watch them as they come into your store, the first thing to do is look to the right.
Oh,
And so if you have something you want them to see or looked really good or a screaming deal or something, the idea was you would put it on that right side of the store, and they'll walk over there towards it. So
yeah, they walk left, look right as they walk in, which was a weird thing. Working at Big Five was that, and also they refresh their end caps on all their departments weekly.
yeah,
And then the front end cap was actually a sold space for products. So they'd go to Coleman and go,
right,
you're going to pay us or give us a whole bunch of money or give us a whole bunch of product, and we'll put your stuff up front for the month of June, the camping month or whatever. Then it'd be like a different product another month later. Always switched out monthly. So, and there alludes that's your real estate representing their product. So they should be paying you for representing their product a little bit. I mean, there's one perspective anyway.
Yeah.
Controlling your overhead and financial stability.
Yeah.
All right. You still got some more time, John, or are you okay there?
I probably need to mosey, but
okay.
It's been great and fun as always. And
absolutely.
Fun to talk about Dong. He was a true character. So.
Oh yeah. He was a legend in the Denver market at the Denver Spoke for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I was going to jump in and talk about, did it print off? The bike shop I was going to feature. Actually kind of worked for them a little bit, and closer to your neck of the woods, kind of more in the area. Yeah. So a Will and Sprocket. But before you go, let me tell me what you think about what's your thoughts on Will and Sprocket?
It's a great store. It's again, it had been a very much a family business, started by one guy, Chris Kegel, and a lot of what you talk about, being a good member of the community, all that type of thing, an innovative person, well-run, well-organized stores. Wheel and Sprocket is, I mean, you kind of wish, if somebody went into one of those stores, and in fact, I think they've got some flagship store in Milwaukee right now. You kind of wish that you could take somebody, in the Wayback Machine and go back over to Hale's Corners, and this is where they started. But just really good store, very good people. Lucky enough to, they were right in Trek's backyard, which they used to great benefit for their business. But yeah, it's a great store. I'd encourage. It's just a fun place to go into as well. So a lot of good people in there and great bikes. And
yeah. What really kind of blows my mind is they've grown to 12 stores now.
Yep.
And they still have, even though some of their stores are like really nice, especially their newer ones they just built, really pretty, but they're not intimidating when you walk in, even though it's very clean and new. They're not intimidating, and the staff is head over the hills, like very approachable, very comforting. Like, they listen, and they're not there to like push a whole bunch of stuff on you, and you don't feel that way in intimidation. They're there to help you out, being part of the community and everything. So yeah, I wanted to feature them because I have a little bit of a back history with them a little bit, and then I came across a little bit of research on a different thing on last week's video. And I think it's something to really bring to show, where they came from a very small shop in 1973 to now where they are today. And I want to coin them as a high-end elite shop. It'd be more still, each one of the locations are still family driven, cultured, community-based bike shop.
It's interesting because they are able to pull a little bit of both off, because I know one of my former sales reps was in there for years. Phil Godkin. Do you remember Phil?
No,
I think he might still be there, but he was like this elite frame or bike fitter for them. So they did kind of cater to the higher performance cyclists, but again, they didn't lose that. They didn't repel just regular folks coming in to buy a nice bike for their kid or for the weekend or whatever. So I definitely agree. I think that's a good description of it. Beautiful stores, very well run, but not intimidating. So welcoming.
Yeah. That's good. Welcoming. Have you seen his little skits, Noel, having little skits on like Facebook and what have you, little ads?
No.
Oh, they're hilarious. They're great. It is hilarious. I mean, yeah. When next time I see one, I'll send it your way. Okay. They're just like, oh yeah, this is yeah. You wouldn't think that from a bike shop people, what they're trying to present. Like you see a lot of that stuff on social media, and you're like, oh, they're trying to push their products or whatever. They're just it's the dong approach of bike selling. It's like it's supposed to be fun, make you laugh.
Yeah. Bikes are fun. Let's go have fun. Yeah.
Go have fun. Have a great time. Yeah. Well, thanks, John, for hanging out and giving your insights and all that. And I'm going to stay on a little bit longer and carry on what my findings are and talk about Will and Sprocket. Well, thanks again.
Right. Stay
care. Warm.
I will.
All righty. We'll see you next
time. Bye-bye.
Well, there you have it, Mr. Bradley himself, legend, myth. Yeah, he's been in the industry for quite a long time, and it's always good. I always find you get individuals like John that's been around for so long, and it's just continuous conversation of a lot of stuff. Even though you lived it, you're like, oh, I didn't remember that, or I didn't know that. So it's always really, really great. I want to take a second here to shout out those who are in the chat. Mr. RS Check. Thank you for chiming in. Yeah, they did. Talking about Wheat Ridge, they were really did well as a family-owned bike shop, and it's very nice front-end repair, representation, and for the customer. Yeah, they Wheat Ridge also is second generation. I think Ron was the son that owned it last, that eventually sold it. So yeah, absolutely. Or maybe it was Ryan. It's been a while since I got to meet the family, but I remember going in several times and meeting them. So it was a good time. Johnny, the bike guy, SLC. Yes. Going back to talking about cash. I mean, if you get yourself in a position of basically owning your inventory and paying everything outright, that's better off. All bike shops are always aiming to do that. Should be one of your main goals for sure. Hey, Scott, thank you for chiming in. And yes, it's always happy Thanksgiving to you too. And we got Brett, Anthony, Poulsbo, Washington. I've been to Poulsbo. Oh, great place. Used to be a big five there too. Visit that store back in the day when I was working for them. The Poulsbo is a nice Washington. That's more closer to the Puget Sound area, which is they have a rain shadow and so forth, and it's a lot of nice riding for sure. Road Rash all day. Thank you for joining in. Welcome from Las Vegas. Nice. Yeah, hopefully we'll be out there. We don't have any plans quite anytime soon going out there, but yeah, we have a place out there we like to hang out. And there's one of the shops. There's two shops there. There's Pedal and Pour, which is a fun little coffee shop, bike shop, which is a great little local shop. But Swany Cycles, I have a video or a live stream that I did there one time. They're great guys. Both shops are very approachable, walkable, comfortable, small shops, and do great for the community for sure. Susan, thank you for chiming in. Thank you for sharing your labor rates there. Yeah, over your shoulder. I have a joke about that because my dad was it's like our shop rate was X amount for a tune-up, and there was an X amount which was significantly higher that you watched, and then there was an extreme amount that if you helped. So joking aside, for sure. Brian Wells, a bike shop owner. Nice. think of paybook orders are very unsafe. You give loyalty the market these days. Trying to understand. Yeah, when you're talking about high-end product, it's kind of really, you know, you got to know your market really well, that kind of thing, being precise, and make those appropriate orders and so forth going into the next season. It's going to be, and Ron, correct, yes. Oh, you're Ryan. Yeah, yeah. Ron was the last one. He was a really nice guy. I met him over the years. My daughter just jumped in and grabbed a soda. Anyway, yeah, absolutely. Joe Channel. Hey, welcome back. I've heard you were absent for a while from your channel and you came back. I hope all is well with you. And happy Thanksgiving to you. You're up in Canada, so Thanksgiving was last month for you. Oh, okay. You're doing yeah. We have like a lot of shops down in our neck of the woods called Cranksgiving. It's kind of a hard twist of words, but go out there and you get on your bike and instead of playing football, you ride off your turkey. It goes across and sides with turkey trot kind of thing. You do your little 5K runs, which are all over the United States kind of thing. People go do their little runs and then proceed to cook and eat and sit and watch football all day. Here in the States, that's kind of like it's like the beginning of fat boy season, me included, not counting calories, going for that. So yeah. That being said, I want to jump into the topic I alluded to before. If you're just joining us, thank you for hanging out at Shop Talk Tuesday. And I wanted to feature this one shop because I work for them inadvertently, in a weird way. They had a product called a Wheel Toolkit, which was a software program which implemented at the bike shop I was working for at Ridge Cyclery to help manage inventory. And this is part of the P2 group and everything like that. So if you're part of the industry mix, you'll kind of understand what I'm talking about. Essentially, the owner of the shop I was working at wanted to have access to the program that they were using at Will and Sprocket to manage inventory. Well, I was the lucky duck inventory manager at the time that implemented it. And I was like, okay, cool, sure. Like still kind of like, it was very still new working at Lee's. In that role, I worked at Lee's that does service management and so forth before quite a bit, but that's how I got to be familiarized with the actual platform and so forth. But I didn't really meet the owner until a little bit later on down the road, but of the actual platform there. So before that, though, I need to clear my throat here. Still getting over my cold, so I'll let you guys watch.
Shop on Amazon. I do have a Amazon store, like the latest pick, basically, of products that are on sale, that kind of thing, and various other parts and tools and so forth that I suggest using within those particular categories. Check that out. Go through, and even if you don't buy the product that I suggest and you find something else that fits your needs better or your grocery list or whatever you end up buying, I get a little kick. So that's a good opportunity for you to get something and I get something that helps support me doing what I'm doing.
And that's one of those things that you can't be enjoying them. It's like, okay, well, at least make a little money off of them. And I implore any social media influencer, bike shop people to do so as well. Any case, yes. So that gives me I had a meeting when I was working at Retail Toolkit, which Wheel Toolkit, then we had to get naming rights for the Retail Toolkit to be more retail based versus just specifically bike based. And any case, long story short, I was flown out and to talk to the current owner, and the current owner was the son, Noel, of Chris. And Chris Kegel was, he opened the store at Hell's Corner, which John Bradley was mentioning, and grew from there. And I did get to go to Hell's Corner in the meeting and talk to Noel and met, got a little better relations there. I spent like a couple nights there, going through and showing the new location they have now were under construction at the time. And in my perspective is, it is like, well, they had multiple locations. This is a big store, but when I walked in the store, it felt very comfortable and warm. And when I was doing a little research on the coast, like the latest recall from Trek, the Coaster Brake Kids, definitely implore everybody to watch the video. If not, at least look out for those particular bikes. We want to make sure kids are safe. That's the end all be all statement of that. But when I was doing that, I did a little, Trek recall YouTube search to see if anybody else is doing either the video I was doing or other stuff that I should be aware of. And I came across this video, and I'm going to play it real quick. Just I'm going to play. Let me just hopefully the sound goes through.
Hi, I'm Chris Kegel, president of Wheel and Sprocket. I'd like to show you how to work the quick release properly and what the issues are.
The video
Quick release is designed to use the cam action so that at 90 degrees it starts to engage and tightens down. And if you're tightened down,
I'm having a little bit of internet connection. I do apologize.
you'll be able to make sure that there's a slight imprint on your palm, so you get it nice and tight. If the quick release is used improperly or left open, this lever could theoretically get caught into the disc itself. So Trek is, in their recall, is coming up with a quick release skewer that has only 180 degrees of turn rather than the
Okay, that just happened. Platform just died. So in any case, hopefully I'm back, or hopefully you can hear me. Let's try that again, because I think it's kind of important to show this. The reason why I'm showing this, it's there's a reason.
Hi, I'm Chris Kegel, president of Wheel and Sprocket. I'd like to show you how to work the quick release properly and what the issues are. Quick release is designed to use the cam action so that at 90 degrees it starts to engage and tightens down. And if you're tightened down, you'll be able to make sure that there's a slight imprint on your palm, so you get it nice and tight. If the quick release is used improperly or left open, this lever could theoretically get caught into the disc itself.
So that was Chris Kegel. That was an interview from a local channel when the front skewers of the Trek bikes, there was like millions of them, I think. That was about 10 years ago. Unfortunately, Chris has passed away since then. But listening to him and knowing his son kind of gave me chills, in the sense of like my dad having the shop, and this, goes back being a small mom and pop shop. It's what I've seen of Chris very mirrors what my father was trying to do in our market, in our place, and where we lived, and to support our community. So every time I see a video of Chris, there's a few of them out there, and some are really kind of funny and wacky, and you can check out their channels. It's in the description below. They'll have a couple of videos of Chris doing old videos, promotion videos, and it's like it's approachable. And you look at, he's a bike shop owner. He's not like your super elite pro racer rider. No, he's a community man. He's like a family man. And he had a bike shop, and he relayed all of that to his business, and he enjoyed bikes and so forth. And that's where, it's a level of importance. So what I'm trying to, the whole topic here is, if you have a upper end bike shop, that's fine. And you probably have figured out your community and your niches and your client base and customer base and all that. But, at the end of the day, there's where you're going to grow. And what I've seen and what I've worked with, and I've worked with a lot of shops with the retail toolkit, a lot of them were really big, and there were still a lot smaller. And the thing is the ones that are really big that were doing really well, most of them were really family-oriented businesses. And looking at, I'm going to share the page here, Will and Sprocket's About Us page, because, you know, they were established in 1973, Hell's Corner. That's the shop that was actually the first shop I went to. And from seeing how they expanded from that location and they were moving into their new location, which is this one here, showing Noel and Amelia. I think they had 4 kids. And Tessa, and they have another son, I forget his name, but he actually runs the family pub. So apparently when you own a bike shop, you got to have a pub, because the woes of the bike shop retail will drive you to drink. This is a joke. In any case, they have it's a family restaurant. It has a bar. In any case, but yeah, the point is, what I'm trying to bring into is, you know, Noel, he's a great guy. He takes on a lot of characteristics of his dad, and he implements that every day into his shop. And talking about from the humble beginnings of 1973, a small shop at Hell's Corner, and it's a family experience. And Chris Kegel worked through the shop for 40 years, and he passed away. And then they are still carrying it on and adding new stores and still carrying on the same traditions and what they have been successful, starting from Chris. So, and yes, they have all the special banners like top check dealers, best bike shop in America, that kind of thing. But I wanted to show this too. This is very interesting little promo piece. And, look at their YouTube channels. They don't really have a very strong influence on YouTube, which is fine, because they're definitely a strong impact of their nation or their bike shops that actually applies to a lot of things.
You know that feeling when you're coasting down a hill? The breeze, the ease of it? It's hard not to smile. Especially when you've just got done working up that hill. We've all pedaled up some pretty massive hills recently, and I'm not just talking about biking. Life isn't always easy. We all know that. Building Wheel and Sprocket wasn't easy. We started 50 years ago, and we've always believed that when we stick together, when we encourage and look out for each other, that's when we feel the wind at our backs. We know bikes don't fix everything, but they do make the world a much better place. And everyone can experience that. Everyone can feel that breeze, the freedom, excitement, the joy, and peace. That's why we do this. That's why we keep growing and investing in communities. That's why we love seeing you walk into our stores. New Bike Day is always a good day. So no matter what hills you're climbing, just know we've got your back. We know you can do it, and we will always be here to help you enjoy your ride.
So yeah, I just wanted to share that, because that's one of those scenarios where all my interactions with Wheel and Sprocket, from working with Noel with Retail Toolkit to just even after, has always been a positive experience. Very knowledgeable staff. People that work there are just outstanding. And unfortunately, with our shortcomings at working at Parker Bikes, and we had to close, it's one of those dreams of that would have been kind of the course direction we would love to been able to do here. But and not to say that's not everybody's passion, or anybody, every bike shop's passion, let's put it that way, to be that big. But it's one of those things where you can take your influence of your local community and make it a little bit larger, or you can be as small as me and have just as big as impact. So there's a lot of things there. But there's a lot of, influences and so forth that, actually propels the bike shop to be a great place and a great community support for all those. So I wanted to feature that for like Wheel and Sprocket as one of those shops that, even though they are a big shop and they have several locations, but they spread the same kind of warm hug walking into any of the locations, and they continue to do so. So kudos to them, and thankful for them to supporting the Milwaukee, Chicago area. And they also, I mean, you can buy stuff online from them too. They do sell their used bikes and so forth. And in any case, that's it's one of those things. I haven't worked for them in several years, but I do have communications with Noel periodically here and there. And I hope them well. And they've been doing a lot of focus on used bikes and a lot of service. So as you can imagine, that's kind of where we're in right now. And that's where we're doing as much as we can. So in any case, all right, let's go back to the chat here and see what we have, any jibber jabbers going on. Thank you for joining, EBDB. Oh, thank you for joining us. I need some advice. I have a Vonton Ramblus e-bike that shifts hard. Any ideas on what I look at first? I think it would be use a tune-up. There's a lot of different things to the actual shifting of a bike. And the stiffness could be relating to the cable and housing, where the shifter is trying to get through the housing and trying to get to the rear derailleur. That's one part. Sometimes the housing could be contaminated to cause it to not shift very smoothly. The easy way to check that is, put the bike up on the stand or just side of a wall and ride or pedal it to the biggest gear in the back, and then without pedaling, just the bike sitting there, shift it down to the smallest gear, and that'll give you slack and cable all the way to your derailleur. And hold that cable on the back part of the bike and shift it back, give it some taut and make it tight and shift it up. And if it feels smooth going up and going back down, then your housing is probably okay. If it binds up and seems stiff, that might be one of the problems there. Second thing, there's a lot of adjustment for the derailleur to aid that chain to go up and down of those cogs. So it could be just the tension of the derailleur housing or the cable itself by adjusting the housing with the barrel adjuster. There's a lot of videos on YouTube to look on how to adjust a derailleur. Also your limit screws and also the B spring, which pushes the derailleur down to maybe a little bit better ramping going up and down on that cog set. So maybe you just need a rear derailleur adjustment. You may not need a full tune-up, but if you don't feel comfortable doing any of that, I highly implore you to go to your local shop and have them take a look at it and run through the gears and see if they can make it a little smoother for you. Also, properly lube your drivetrain is usually another best tip on that for sure. All right. Oh yeah, Scott, I got the brain bucket on Bob the bike rep there in the back corner there. If you the vertical streamers, that's my mannequin there is representing the Bicycle Wheel Warehouse, which is today's sponsor of the show. And some shifters or some derailleurs just make a huge clunky noise, but sometimes we try to adjust that as much as possible and so forth. Yeah, I do work on bikes, but on e-bike specific, there's a guy local to me called Precision E-Bike. Josh there is in Fort Collins, and he is the master of that. So even though I do adjust derailleurs and so forth, since it is an e-bike, it's most better to take to a shop that does work on e-bikes, but they might be able to check some other things that are related to the e-bike motor battery thing while it's there. I'm not geared up or set up to do so. So it's a little bit better to do that kind of thing. Tune-ups, EBDB here locally, tune-ups are anywhere from 100 to 200. for a full tune-up. Each bike shop will have its different laundry list of things. You can always ask for that up front. Derailleur adjustments, something of that nature. If it's just adjusting the derailleur tension and a little bit of tweaking the screws, probably $10-15. But if they have to replace the cables and the housing, that can escalate a little bit more. So there's a range to it. But the full tune-up packages, they typically run about $75 to $100. Then they go up from there, depending on the bike shop. Pretty much all bike shops will have a scale of 2 or 3 different ones to choose from for a package on there. Hopefully that helps you out. Yeah. So yeah, that's why a lot of us are still here as bike mechanics, because of the bike rear derailleur. I can't get it to adjust right, and it eludes some people. Like they'll never get it, which is fine. That's why we're here to help you. And sometimes it takes a little bit of a lot of historical practices, and it's a lot of us have started on new bikes and then go from there and learn how to problem solve bikes where they don't work, that kind of thing. So yeah, there's a lot of that goes on too. But in any case, all right, thanks for everybody for hanging out. So yeah, I mean, recap on the the topic. That's seeing Chris's video of safety on the front skewer there kind of triggered a thought about the elite shop versus the local bike shops, and we're losing a lot of bike shops, either from just they just can't do it anymore, or the family is just tired of doing it and they're done, moving on to other adventures. Or, for a while there, not currently, but Trek and Specialized were buying a lot of locations and converting to corporate stores. And that's slowed close a lot right now. And we're seeing some stores going under. And unfortunately, it's, if you weren't prepared for this or even had the ability to do the changes in fast real time the last couple of years of your business model, it may have been a little too hard, too fast to be able to do any adjustments, and all of a sudden you're underwater, and in a really bad way, unfortunately. So, it's one of those things where we're in uncharted waters. And a lot of us in the industry are like, we've probably seen little bits of this here and there over the years of economical changes, demands, product timelines, tariffs, everything else in between, but not all at one time. And all retail right now is mad scrambling, craziness, trying to hold on for dear life, that kind of thing. And they're trying to do adjustments that they know are currently working and may work towards, but forecasting is just one of the biggest unknowns. But one thing I can tell you for my business, service is a big piece right now going into 2026, and used bikes, parts and frames and wheels and so forth. And the social media part is, part of my platform, but that's still in its infancy. It kind of scary to say, like, I have 13,000 subs, but yet I'm still at the small spectrum of what I need to be able to make that as a solid income. So I'm really talking to you as strictly as a bike shop person trying to survive. And I enjoy doing these Shop Talk Tuesdays and various other videos and so forth, because I think it's like planting seeds of going forward at some point. But right now, for me, the sole income is doing tune-ups and servicing bikes and doing refurbishing and videos and so forth. But for me, honestly, the YouTube platform specifically, or the social media, has driven service work to me, as a tune of about half of my repairs last season was driven by those who saw me on YouTube. So take it as you will. It's not for every shop. It's a lot of work, and a lot of time. And I don't even look forward to getting paid back for what I put into it. I just enjoy doing it, like bikes itself. So I guess I'm in it for just the abuse. I'm just used to it, I guess. I don't know. But it's fun, and it's fun sharing, and it's fun having all of you join in from all parts of the world. It's just awesome. And thanks, Joe, for chiming in from up in Canada. I have a big problem with older road bikes, older Italian race bikes with Ultegra. I swear that it was the fastest 15 years ago and that it is now. Not sure why it slowed down as I get older. It's not the bike. It's the motor. And Joe, I don't mind going slower because I get to see more as I'm riding and enjoy. And, yeah, it is. Also, I just saw there's a cap in the States that they're trying to push legislation wise of capping the speed on e-bikes and scooters to be like 18 miles per hour or less, and even less than that in metropolitan areas, which come to mind is probably a brilliant idea because everybody's been on the bike path and been like just doing my own thing, and all of a sudden, zoom, and you're like, that's probably not safe. It's usually somebody that's not wearing a helmet, and they're going to either hit somebody or fall off or crash, and it's not going to be pretty. So there should be a regulator on there somewhere. Taper them down. So it's not like how fast you should be able to go. It's how fast it should be safely, should be assisting you to go. But that's my little opinion on that piece in any case. But yeah, Joe, it's just, I'm, the clipping along at 20 miles per hour or higher on a road bike is not in my wheelhouse unless I shed about 50 pounds off my bike. Well, no, me, not my bike. Oh, thanks, Susan, for chiming in. Ramblers can be a fine-tune in the app for power settings. Oh, good to know. Important power mid-drive that pushes out 100 Newton meters when making your shift. Yeah, that's another aspect of it too. It could be, I'm not really familiar with that model whatsoever, so I don't know if it's a wheel drive motor or a crank assist motor, but that could really be causing your shifting issues at some level. Shift more lower tension is probably the best direction. A lot of people, unfortunately, you get in some of those e-bikes that you're riding and you're using the motor to the point where you're not shifting as much as you should. So you're really wearing your drivetrain out, those one particular cogs, which is a known problem in the sense that it does wear out your componentry a little bit faster. So, and the last 10 years, they've been developing more componentry. They're more e-bike specific, which is more durable, not as light. Of course, that's where the road, most bike industry is going for the lightweight. But when you're looking at e-bikes as a whole different perspective, because for example, they're making chain rings and cassettes and so forth. They're more specific for e-bike for the wear and tear. Chains specifically, I think every chain manufacturer now has an e-bike chain, if I'm not incorrect, but Connex is one of the German chain brands from Wimperman. They have an e-bike model chain for each speed, I think, for sure. And then they have different lengths. And so you look like, oh, they have like 6 chains. Like, well, it's actually the same chain, but different lengths. So if you need a longer chain to accommodate a longer drivetrain system for e-bike, they have that available too. And also they have what they call a Connex link, which is kind of like the quick link, power link, whatever, link. That one's kind of cool because with Connex, it's reusable, which is advertised to be reusable, not like the Shimano or the SRAM, which is one-time use only, supposedly. It's also reusable, but the big part is you don't need a tool. It folds on itself, and you can open it up like a old school power quick link. I forget what they call it, but in any case, yeah. That's what's kind of cool about that. And you can take the chain off, clean it, wax it, whatever you want to do. And waxing is probably a good thing for e-bikes too, to make it last a little bit longer. All right, finally built up my first road bike, a 1988 Navara Trofano lugged frame. Ooh, that's probably a nice fancy one. Slept on Durace, Ridge Railer. Always want to experience Durace as mountain bike guy. Okay. mountain biker getting a roadie. I mean, a lot of us have done that. My experiences was mostly BMX mountain bike and then road bike, gravel, cross bike for me. That's where I'm at right now for sure. Yeah, Dura-Ace has always been beautiful componentry. I mean, if you old school, you can polish it up and make it really pretty. I had a really cool experience of finding a Trek 2500 is old school 7.2 carbon aluminum lugged, polished aluminum lugged. Early 90s frame with all original Dura-Ace componentry on it. It was a 7-speed even, I think. Or maybe it was an 8-speed, but it was the first generation of the STI shifters. And they are so different than they are today. It was kind of like they were more precise. It was a different feel altogether. It was kind of fun. Cleaned it up, rode it for a couple seasons, and scratch that itch and went to another one. So that was a lot of fun. Oh, I said it perfectly, huh, Johnny? Thank you. Speed balloons are on roadways, not on actual vehicles, potentially speed. Yeah, it's like, you can drive your vehicle, for miles per hour. I'm not sure the conversion of kilometers, but you can needle that down and it says 140. Well, that's not the limit of the road. So keep in mind, most bike paths in the United States is 15 miles per hour or less. So keep mindful and respectful for those who are riding around you on bike paths. Oh, Levi, thank you for joining 4,500. Did you see the rad e-bike drama? Yeah. I was thinking about doing a separate video on that. I was thinking about tying that in, but I want to be more positive this episode because we're going right into Thanksgiving and I want to be thankful because I am thankful for being here, doing what I'm doing, and working with my customer, my community, and also my community here on YouTube and Facebook and other places of streaming. And it's been a very good run, I would say, doing this for about, not the YouTube part, but my own bike shop thing for over 5 years now. And the YouTube is probably like 2 or 3 now. I came in a little bit later, but that kind of thing. But yeah, it's been interesting about the rad motor thing. And apparently they don't have the finances to do the recall because they're an acquisition or something like that. There's a lot of layers to the onion, which it's a lot of people at risk with batteries. You don't want to catch them on fire and stuff. That's no bueno for anyone. That kind of thing. So I'll probably do a little more research on that. Maybe get some help from those who are actually in the e-bike market and maybe interview or their insights on that. Maybe I can get Josh from Precision E-Bike to chime in on that. But I think he's on holiday, so he's on taking a break like a lot of us should. Take a nice little break. It's been a hot, intense season, regardless if you're busy or not. It's been intense regardless. And for cyclists out there, we're gone into cyclocross season. A lot of fun to watch. If there's a race near you, go for it. Check it out. That's one of those fun spectator sports, cyclocross races, because it's a circuit, and you can go hang out and meet people there and drink your cocoa or coffee and watch some crazy people ride in the worst temperatures and conditions possible on bikes. It's fun. And if you go to more of the pro race ones, it's really, really fun because that's where a lot of pro racers from mountain biking and road bike collide, and they just jump into it. Because for them, it's like end of the season bash. But yet there is still the professional level of some people just get born and crafted out of like cyclocross championships, and then they go on to do other things. So that's a cool thing. It's fun. It's for a spectator sport of cycling, that kind of deal. But a lot of people have been inverted to go back into their basements or garages and do highway to nowhere riding. Or braid the elements and layer up in clothing or switch out the studded tires. So whatever you need to do in your neck of the woods to get on your bike and ride and keep those legs spinning, do it. Because, winter will be quick and go over. And those who are in the cycling industry, I figured this would be a really good insights to promote a shop that started real small and talked about other shops that started real small and what they are today. And to give you a little bit of hope, right? There's some of your shops out there have had a tough, taken a couple of hits, and there's a little bit of hope, and see through it. And you may have had some successes. Obviously, I think a lot of us have had a lot of failures in the last couple of years, but hopefully the successes have offset that, and you're going more in a positive direction. And I think it's more of a double down on community building of your local cycling communities, service. Also, used market is definitely plentiful here in the United States to really take advantage of that. I've had people try to sell me bikes, and they're like, I asked how much they were looking for. That's not advertising. I'm not advertising. I just have people just see I sell stuff online, and they're like, will you buy this? And ask, just question like how much you're asking for it. And they're asking for 3 times more what the given market is currently. It's like, I politely say, I'm not taking anything right now. And here's some links to help promote it, and maybe you'll get some of the money that you're looking for to getting out those. But, for example, I'm seeing good steel bikes, aluminum bikes for $100, $150, then full carbon bikes up to $300. That are pretty decent. So, and titanium bikes are dropping to $500. The used market is just dropped so low. And if you have the time and the patience, and if you're looking for a perfect ride for yourself, or you good used to you ride and fix up and make it a project, this is a great time to do it, because you can get the introduction price pretty low, and then build up from there. I mean, you may have to get some parts. There's an offset, because now the tubes and tires are probably more expensive. But if you get the bike cheap enough, it's a wash. But you can build yourself up a really good, sweet ride with parts and labor, and even you take it to a guy like me to have it tuned up and still be under $1,000. So therefore, a lot of people are in the financial questions, and that's one of those things. I was going to feature that bike, but I'm starting to run out of time. And anyway, Bicycle Wear Warehouse. I got a set of wheels from them. And for those who are in small shops or like retroing out an old outfit, this is a 26-inch wheel. I had this built up. It's going on a Klein, and I'm going to feature a video of installing the wheel set. Reason why I'm getting a wheel set for the Klein is it doesn't have a matchy wheel set. Everything else is stock. And for some reason, somebody stole the front wheel and swapped it out with an older, cheaper model. I think it was probably the husband that probably busted his wheel and was like, I need a new wheel. Any case, it's a Klein full suspension with a chameleon color. Really pretty. But I was like, I didn't want to get a wheel set. I was going to part it out, but the heart in me is like, I really want to put this together for somebody to ride, because it's all stock and it'd be really kind of cool. Not that I'll really make very much out of the full bike out of it if I was just used, but got this pretty stellar. The spokes on these are really cool, and the light as it changed the purple to blue. These were hand built from Custom Wheel Warehouse. You can really they have drop down lists. You can really pinpoint what spoke nipples. This is a double butted spoke. It is, I'm not sure the brand of the spoke. I think it's one of their house brands that they have. And the hub is, fancy, smooth, and it's a rim brake. Also has a tubeless setup from them right off the bat. I mean, the valve cores and everything. So I need to go find me some 26-inch tubeless tires to throw on this as for fun. It's already set up for it. And this says 8, 9, 10, up to 11, I believe. Free hub body on this guy. And it is quick release because the bike is quick release. I did go with the disc on this one. Reason being, it doesn't have disc on the bike, but I'm trying to be forward thinking on this because the individual, whoever buys this bike, it does have disc compatible fork. Also, the rear mount on this Klein has one of those adapters you can buy. I'm going to see if I can buy the adapter and just sell it with the bike. So if they wanted to go upgrade to a disc system, they can. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do it, might as well go ahead with a disc hub, because the cost is not going to be that much different. And if they don't use it, that's fine. This is a rim brake bike. It is going to be a little bit chunkier, but I mean, come on, it's a 2005, 2004 Klein. So I mean, you're not going to be worried about essentially weight, but it is a pretty cool bike. It's one of those fancy colors, and looking at the size now and the color scheme on it, you know what's going to happen. It happened with the last Pro Decline that I got to refurbish. And basically somebody popped out of their head out of the house and goes, "Ooh, that's a pretty bike." And then, "Oh, is that my size?" So it's getting close to my daughter. She's growing so tall. It might be something for her. Needless to say, that's my latest like in-shop project. And I have like 3 different bikes I need to chop up. That's not a good way of saying it. Refurbished parts, provide good quality parts, used parts, and frames for those who are wanting projects. And then I do have a couple tune-ups. Those are always consistently coming in, which is great. And then I have a couple consignment bikes. One is really nice, Pinarello. And then another one, which is a little bit older, Fuji. That'll be more of a price point bike. But guys, and it's like those things of a bike shop. You're doing a little bit of everything, focusing more on what you actually make more of an income on, because that's what keeps the lights on and all that. So yeah, and this wheel set was actually what's really nice about Bicycle Wheel Warehouse. I know it sounds like an advertisement. The price, the reason I've gotten a couple sets from them for customers. Reason being is they didn't want to spend exorbitant amount of money on a wheel set, but they didn't want to go used because they're kind of afraid about the used market, which you have to have a good eye, and you don't know how much abuse and so forth a used wheel set has. And a wheel set is the third-year bike, so you want it to be up there. And there's really good used wheel sets out there that people have gone through, right? That's fine. But if you're looking to do something a little more new and you're looking for a rim brake, Bicycle Wheel Warehouses, take a look. And then they have a lot of options to choose from. Anything from 26-inch to gravel to mountain, new mountain 29ers, they got it all. So yeah, they're a good outfit, and they do build nice wheels. I mean, you don't see a lot of companies hand building. I don't think all their wheels are hand built, but they have a good assortment of possibilities of having wheels hand built. So you have that option to do so. So what's the benefit of a hand built wheel, you may say? It goes back in the 90s, actually, or even before that. 90s is where I started, actually late 80s. We did a lot of custom built wheels back then, because at the manufacturing point, the wheels were not at the high elite level at the time. And then we would custom lace like wheel spoke wheels with spoke prep and alloy nipples and Mavic rims, or maybe some of the Trek Matrix rims or so forth. We would hand build them up, and they'd give you a little bit better strength, quality, and lace them, the more stronger way of lacing them. And I remember we had a customer, Steve. He was a bigger guy, taller, kind of stocky, and he had a road bike he bought from us, and he would bunny hop road tracks along with other gentlemen, Jeff, I think it was, 2 big, huge dudes. And, road bikes, wheels that are coming from the manufacturer were not all that strong. So there were bending wheels and so forth. So we would do some hand-built wheels for them, and they held up. So that a lot went into the mountain bike scene for stronger wheels and all that. So, but fast forward today, there's manufacturing of wheels. A lot of the wheels have gotten a lot better, to the point where even if it's machine made, it's pretty darn good. And that's where a lot of that lost art of hand building wheels have kind of been lost in a lot of shops. Specifically, not very many of us left to actually know how to build a wheel. And quite honestly, I haven't built a wheel in years. It's just, I don't need to. So if somebody comes to me like, I want a really nice hand built wheel, it's like, well, Buswell Wheel Warehouse is another one. And if you want higher end ones, there's called Sugar Wheels in Oregon, Portland, Oregon, I think, or is it in Washington, up the upper west coast, and they are known for high-end wheels. And as a matter of fact, I have 2 bikes that have Sugar Wheels, hand-built wheels on them that are in my shop right now. Things are like dialed. I mean, and the rider is not a light dude. And it rides a lot, and he has several really nice bikes. So it's, one of those things. So sky's the limit if you have the wallet. In any case, well, last little bit I want to talk about, and very briefly, of course, it's Happy Thanksgiving for those who are in the States. And hey, it's thankful everywhere. I'm thankful of doing what I'm doing, and you guys watching me do what I do, and I appreciate it. Appreciate you. It makes you to make this channel what it is today, so I highly appreciate it. But I want to give it a little bit of a side note. Going into the holiday season, and it's, keep mindful if you're in the bike shop and your customer's coming in, or if you're a customer going into a bike shop, we're all people. And a lot of us during the holidays, there's a percentage of people that have a hard time because of various other reasons, like nothing related to their work. It's usually a personal reason, like they either lost somebody in their family or they're going through some hardships. And unfortunately, sometimes the joys of a holiday season can be a deficit for those going through the holiday season. So I just want you, just to think about it and just put it out there. Like, let's be human beings, be personable, caring, and at least respectful for those who we were engaging and talking to, either through the bike shop channels, or you're going through the grocery store, or you're biting over this last turkey there is in the next couple of days. We're all human beings, and we don't know each other's backstories or what we're going through and emotionally and so forth. And I say that from coming in a perspective where my family has been affected by various things in the last few years. And I just, some things have rocked me to the core, and without giving out details and so forth, which is personal, but I do want to at least mention that some of those things that you may not know it, and people put on a good game face, but it just takes a little bit of humanity to make somebody's day. That's all I have to say. In any case, be thankful. Have a great time. If you're doing a crank, I can't even say it right. Cranksgiving. It doesn't roll off your tongue well. You need to come with a better term. In any case, if you're out there riding, if it's nice in your neck of the woods, please go for a ride. If you, have information and everything in the description below, please keep the conversation going in the comments. Also, thank you for all those who chatted in. We'll do a re-shout out here. Mr. RS Checks, thanks to you for chiming in. Oh, okay. The shops are simply a downsizing. The wheel building is becoming more outsourced. It's been like that for decades. So that's like early 2000s has been outsourced. But, there are good ones out there. There are still a few wheel builders out there, and you have to check with their rates. I do not know what the regular rates would be now. It's almost on a Google search at this point. But yeah, thank you for chiming in. Appreciate you being part of the chat here. Joe Channel, thank you for coming back. Welcome back to the YouTube realm, however you see fit. Hope everything's going well in your neck of the woods. Getting ready for cold riding, I expect. Levi, thank you for chiming in about the rad battery issue. That's definitely something that anybody has a rad bike, e-bike, or knows somebody, most likely you may know somebody that has a rad e-bike, have that checked out for sure for safety reasons. Johnny, the bike guy, SLC, the guy from Salt Lake City, thank you for chiming in. Appreciate it. I hope to see you next live. And Susan, thank you for chiming in from the north. I think you were probably in a different part of the woods than Joe is, but appreciate y'all the same, because for me, bicycles don't have borders. Hey, Scott, thank you. And I hope you're enjoying your new Lightspeed Appalachian new to you ride. Hope you get some miles on it. Let me know if you have any issues. Maybe after the holidays, we got stuff going on. In any case, anything, seriously, let me know. All right, EBDB, thank you for asking the question and chiming in. Hopefully got you in the right direction there. And I'm scrolling. Brett, thank you for chiming in. Not sure we were talking about Infinity or Opposable Washington, but in any case, thank you for chiming in. And thanks, Susan, for sharing your hourly rates. That was pretty funny. You're standing over my shoulder. It's $250. Yeah, my dad was really funny about that. It's like, yeah, our tune-ups. I mean, back in the day, we had a tune-up that was like $35. I mean, back in the 90s. And it's like, yeah, if you help or if you watch, it's this rate. And if you help, it's this rate. And I think my dad was always the type of person that likes to be jokeful and had a very comedic personality to him. And sometimes his comedy would not resonate well. That was one, because when he told that person that, or one of the people he told that, it kind of like it had like you thought he was serious. Scowl kind of look to him. And I think, what was the other one? I'll have to think of it. It was like, the other one was, we do a lot of, my dad was very communicative individual. And a lot of the times, if it just only took us like a minute or two to do like a quick adjustment or something like that, he would always say, oh, we charge you twice next time. And he was saying this for like years. And like, like 6 years into the shop, and I did that to him. I said that to one person, and he's like, oh no, I'm going to pay you now. Like he was seriously insulted in a weird way. Like I'm not going to come back. I don't know what it was. It was kind of weird. Like, didn't want the helpful help from the local shop. I don't know. People are weird. Any case, Vital Chain Bikes. Did I get that right this time? I have a video with him. I think it was last week, or was it the week before ish, week and a half ish. He does bike waxing, chain waxing. So in any case, there we go. Yeah, look him up. I have a link in my description below for like Shimano SRAM, KMC chains, various speeds. He does a waxing service of different kinds of wax and different speed waxes, every kind of wax. So if you want to get your wax experience or get waxed, go get waxed at Vinyl Bike Chains. I should use that as a pitch. In any case, Polite Chihuahua, thank you for chiming in. Sorry you're late. You're going to have to watch everything on replay. Well, all you, thank you for hanging out. Was ad free except for our own personal promos on this particular one. If you're watching this on the replay, you're going to see a lot of ads. That's just how it rolls. Help supports the channel. Blah 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 blah. But in any case, thank you for hanging out. I hope you have a wonderful holidays coming up. I will be doing a Friday freak out on Friday, and I'll talk about Black Friday sales. We'll do a little dive in of what the hell is out there and if it's really a deal, because a lot of you actual cyclists, you don't know what the actual margins on a lot of stuff is on a norm. I do. For some point, they've changed a little bit. But in any case, we can take a look at it together and see what we're doing on Friday. See how we're doing. And hopefully we get some riding in between here and there. And again, thanks for hanging out with me. It makes you to make this channel. If it's nice in your neck of the woods, please go for a ride. Please. Also, on the mental health state of things, cycling is really, really good for not just your heart and your ticker and your cardiovascular system. It's really good for your mental health. Also, drinking a lot of water. Used to be a Camelback promote, like hydrate or die was a promo back in the 90s. I think they stopped doing that because people took that a little too seriously and drank too much water or something. In any case, happy Turkey Day. If you don't like turkey, well, my daughter's vegetarian, so I'll have to navigate that. And I think I have a gluten disruption intolerance, so my diet's changed too. It's gotten weird. It'll be interesting. In any case, thanks for hanging out with me in the garage. And if it's nice in the woods, please go for a ride. I did say that already. In any case, here we are doing fun things. things. Oh, put you back. Beautiful wheels. Oh, so beautiful. Strength over precision. Also, they came with a little adapter. You want to do the 6-bolt or the direct connect. I like new shiny things. Oh yeah, and thanks John for chiming in earlier. We'll have more videos with him too, as well as other special guests in the near future. Same to you. Happy Thanksgiving. Oh, I gotta go find Christmas lights. Oh, gotta go do that before it gets too cold. Hey guys. Well, maybe I'll spruce up Bob back here and Christmas lighting, get all Christmas tie or something. Yeah, Christmas concerts. So many things. Take care.